Paris exhales, and the room listens. It is morning, and the Palais d'Ina feels more like a workroom than a theater. Tables in neat rows, overhead bulbs, and industrial geometry that reads like a blueprint for daily life. The air tastes of fabric and coffee. The light falls flat and honest, not theatrical. Today, Miu Miu asks us to look at the ordinary and to consider its dignity. Today's show is called At Work, and from the first moment you understand that this is a collection about labor. The making of things, the care of things, the labor of living. It is a catalog of gestures, of hands that tie, hands that fold, hands that stitch, of wrists that bend, shoulders that carry, bodies that move through long, full days. The first figure appears without flourish. The effect is immediate, practical clothing reimagined for the stage. A deep navy apron sits like armor over a work shirt. The fabric is roughened, washed through with the memory of use. It is cinched at the waist, not as a decorative nod, but as a functional necessity. Trousers are rolled, boots are scuffed. What might have once read as humble now reads as precise. The apron is no longer a mere object. It becomes a signifier of craft, of agency. Miu Miu has always loved contradiction, a playful heart with a sharp brain, and here that tension is the point. The house takes an item that has long lived in the background of life and lifts it into the foreground of fashion. Look after look, the concept expands. Aprons recur as variations on a theme. Bib styles, wraparound smocks, fitted pinafores, layered tabards. Some are made from utilitarian canvas, others from lacy chiffons that glint under the lights like softened armor. Some aprons are covered in hand-applied embellishment, sequins, crystals, delicate embroidery, the kind of decorative labor that mirrors the functional labor the apron denotes. The juxtaposition is deliberate and exacting. A piece of heavy cotton, patched and repaired, might sit beside a translucent organza apron embroidered with painstaking floral motifs. One suggests endurance, the other suggests devotion. Both suggest a story. The color story of the show reads like a day at work. Mornings are slate and denim. Noon brings beige, ecru, and the warm grain of honeyed leather. Midday is punctuated by practical colors. Olive, rust, the faint industrial blue of uniforms. Then the palette softens into faded pastels. A washed lemon, a pale rose, a mint that reads almost like a bruise healed. The effect is human and weathered, as though sunlight itself has ironed the hues into memory. The fabrics echo that same weathering: denim, drill, washed linen, raw canvas, creased silk that looks like it has been folded and unfolded 1,000 times. There is leather too, not polished, but hand-broken, soft at the edges where it creases against movement. Miu Miu's materials feel chosen for how they age because the collection wants us to imagine life after the show, the clothing lived in, mended, loved. Silhouette is where the collection's argument becomes flesh. The aprons layer over dresses, jackets, and trousers. They're tied high at the waist or draped low on the hips. Some are clipped with D-rings, referencing tool belts. Others are trimmed with ribbon and lace, nodding to domesticity. The body is often zipped or belted into shape, but then released with a panel or a fold, an invitation to motion. Trouser legs are cropped to reveal thick socks and utilitarian sandals. Skirts are swung to reveal underlayers of work shorts. The effect is lived and adaptive, not simply decorative. Practicality is fetishized and romance is practicalized. The runway becomes a study of how clothes must perform, to shelter, to facilitate, to carry pockets, to bear weight. Accessories in this show perform with a particular kind of clarity. Bags insist on purpose. Pouches that might hold tools, satchels made of braided rope and leather, multi-pocket carriers that sound like a collector's map. Belts are thick and engineered. Loops, hooks, anchors for motion. Footwear tends toward function. Robust boots, flat-soled sandals with straps that wrap and stabilize, shoes that look like they will outlast trends. Jewelry is pared back, a single steel cuff, a ring that resembles a washer from a factory, or a necklace made from tiny found objects. These are ornaments with history, not brand-led statements. The hair and beauty direction reinforces the collection's argument. Model's hair is either tied in loose knots or allowed to fall mussed and practical. Faces are raw, not airbrushed. Luminous skin, a flushed cheek, a touch of shadow here and there as though from hard work. The makeup suggests evenings spent under low lights rather than mornings under cameras. It reads like authenticity, the kind of beauty that emphasizes evidence. Faint lines, small imperfections, the marks of life. Underneath it all, Miu Miu reminds us that labor leaves traces, and those traces are part of the narrative the clothes tell. This season's Miu Miu show is also a study in craft, and a show of craft about craft. There are visible repairs made into design features. Patches are sewn deliberately. Raw edges are artfully left unfinished. Seams are top-stitched in contrasting thread to celebrate the act of joining. Hand-stitched embroidery appears on cotton work shirts, the kind of decorative handwork historically performed in kitchens and workrooms, and by people whose work has too often been invisible. Miu Miu elevates those acts, foregrounding domestic labor as a legitimate, visible, aesthetic practice. It's a reclamation, not romantic nostalgia, but contemporary revaluation. Stagecraft here is minimal but meaningful. The setting, tables, benches, the faint scent of metal and wood, frames the clothes as instruments of living. Lighting is utilitarian, white, unmannered, revealing. The music is sparse, a pulse, a hum, the rhythm of machines translated into low synths. The choreography is direct. Models walk in measured, purposeful steps, cross the room, sit, stand, move in ways that are practical rather than purely performative. The show is a rehearsal for life, and the audience is invited to watch closely because the meaning is in the details. There are moments of subversion that land because they are precise. Miu Miu will take an apron and stud it with pearls, or drape it over a couture dress, or pair it with a surgically tailored blazer. The collision of a domestic with the urbane unsettles assumptions. It asks a question: who gets to be visible in fashion? Traditionally, the models on stage have been objects of spectacle. Here Miu Miu flips it. The show is in service to work. The women wearing these clothes are not muses. They are workers, caretakers, makers. And the clothes confirm their worth. Beyond the immediate looks, the collection gestures at larger social conversations. There is a critique woven into the seams, the undervaluation of labor, the invisibility of care work, and the gendered assumptions attached to the domestic. By placing the apron center stage, Miu Miu reframes labor as artistry. The collection does not shy away from complexity. There is tenderness in aprons of embroidered floss, brutality in leather bibs with hardware, joy in ruffles that move with laughter. These contradictions are precisely the point. Labor is not monolithic. It is messy, loving, hard, and necessary. Audience reaction is quietly electric. Front row editors track the details, jotting notes, photographing textures. Influencers lean in, already considering how to translate the looks into street narratives. Critics will later dissect lines and themes, but in the moment the room fills with focused attention. There is admiration, of course, but also an awareness that the clothes carry something like an ethical gravity. The applause at the end is not triumphant so much as respectful, a mutual recognition of the idea that something important has been named. The work of this collection extends beyond the runway. In the days and weeks after the show, street style codifies the message. Editors wearing aprons over tailored coats, stylists pairing work boots with silk skirts, young creatives knotting tool belts around delicate blouses. Photography captures the translation from stage to street, a dialogue showing how fashion moves from concept into lived practice. The apron, once a domestic implement, starts appearing in unexpected contexts: cafes, studios, galleries. It becomes a sign of solidarity as much as style. Critically, Miu Miu balances the political with the poetic. The collection is not prescriptive, it is reflective. It does not tell stories in bold manifestos, but in small, careful details that accumulate into an argument. The visual language is accessible. It speaks to anyone who has ever labored, cared, built, mended, or made. It speaks to those who know the taste of long workdays, and to those who want fashion to mean more than spectacle. The clothes ask us to look again at what we value and to consider the dignity that has always been present in labor.